college football is changing once again. Over the last decade, it's changed so much with transfer portal, with name, image, and likeness. And now we have another big change happening in college football. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Again, thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, the House Alston NCAA settlement finally came through. It's the thing that everybody's been waiting on with bated breath to figure out what the future of college football looks like, and it is here. Revenue sharing, direct pay for play has arrived in college sports.
It's such a fascinating piece, too, because the bigger thing you get out of this is that they'll have this federal, group that's going to, take the NIL deals that you got to go through, like a clearinghouse or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And, John, I'll be honest, I don't feel like any of that's going to be successful. To me, the settlement's a great starting point. This is where we're going to begin in trying to figure out the direction that collegiate sports should go. You've already got states that have put together laws to where their state laws will supersede anything federal because they're going to tell their state schools that they're not allowed to follow federal regulations. They can only follow state regulations, which is going to allow them to finagle ways to pay kids. And if there's a penalty, they're going to say, nope, you're not going to penalize us because we're going to ignore you anyway. So many red tape components in this that we're still fighting through and trying to figure out. That I'm just like, what does this actually mean to start? What does this tell us? Now, I'm not all doom and gloom with this, John. For me, what I take out of this as an initial thought is we now have a starting point. We have a place to begin figuring out how to salvage the sport that we all love.
Yeah, and so what this is going to look like is, for the most part, starting out, schools will have up to $20.5 million readily available to begin distributing to their student athletes. A large portion of that is going to go to football at most schools. Now, you're going to have those Big East schools that are going to be, prioritizing basketball. You're going to have the North Carolinas, Dukes, Kentuckys, Kansases that will put a little bit more into basketball than maybe some other schools. A place like Oklahoma may put more into softball than they put into something else. But football is going to be the thing that drives the bus on that, because it is going to be that. NIL is going to be a separate part of that. Schools, though, can directly negotiate NIL deals for players, though. That's a little bit of a turning point in some of this, is that NIL is not completely going away. It just allows that to come more in-house. The hang up, though, is any deal valued at $600 or more has to go through the Deloitte clearinghouse, and they have to evaluate, is it legit? Is it fair value? All that stuff has to be evaluated. So I kind of joked, you're going to see a lot of $599.99 deals, so they don't have to go to the clearinghouse. It'll be like a one-day deal for that much, but whatever.
I guess the question to me is, where do you get the fair market value when it comes to name, image, and likeness? Yeah. That's where the slippery slope of lawsuit capabilities come in, because I remember reading one of the articles stating that basically any public trading company, they are exempt from any of this stuff. So that means that Nike can do all the stuff that they were doing for Oregon and nobody's going to blink an eye.
Yeah.
Jordan Brand can do whatever with Oklahoma. And honestly, that kind of benefits Oklahoma. Jordan Brand can do a lot more stuff with the players. Even, with MJ there, North Carolina and Michigan, who all have Jordan Brand. So the Jordan Brand, all these big companies that want to do that, Under Armour for Maryland, if they really want to dig into it, they can do the same thing. The public trading companies were considered exempt. And I get that, because how you going to tell a public traded company if they're not allowed to do what they want to do with their own money? Yeah. Now, they have scrutiny that they have to answer to when it comes to their shareholders, but I think people are overblowing that, thinking that, oh, well, the shareholders are going to regulate. No, they're not. Marketing budgets are marketing budgets.
Yep.
They blow that money all the time. It's going to go to whatever they feel like makes the most sense.
Right.
And if the owner is a big fan of a school, the school's going to benefit from it.
Yeah. The other element of this that I think is going to be most intriguing is the roster limit part of this.
Yes.
So roster limits set at 105. The SEC, though, came out and said, okay, you're going to have 85 scholarships up to 105 roster spots. Where it all lands is going to be interesting, because I don't know if that's necessarily the final stroke on that number.
Yeah, it's like we don't have much clarity on. So it's 105, but they're grandfathering in any players that lost their spots because of the reduction down to 105. So technically, if Oklahoma wanted to, they can go out and re-recruit the players that they kind of had to tell go get in the portal in order to hit the 105 number, and they could throw them back on scholarship or do the NIL scholarship thing if they really want to. They have the capability to do that. So now they're willing and able to do that, because that was the one thing that the judge, and this is what held up most of it, was that the judge's issue was that she did not want any kid to lose their scholarship just because of the reduction in numbers. She's like, nope. That to me is a non-starter in this conversation. And if we do that, we have to make sure that those kids do have a fair shake still. So we're going to grandfather it. And so everybody came to their agreement and said, all right, we'll move the number up for all the grandfathered in before this program, and going forward, it'll be 105. So again, if Oklahoma wants to go out there and get those players, they can do that. They're right there for them.
Yeah, or if there's any other, JUCO kids or FCS kids that they want to try and lure away, I mean, there's still time to do it before fall camp comes about.
Very fair point.
And there's a lot of kids out in the portal still that, maybe they find one or two that they still really like, and now there's a spot available to them. Was there anything else that stood out to you about all of this, Jay?
No, so I think the other thing, the last thing that I'd say I'm going to be keeping my eyes out on is going to be this clearinghouse thing, and how exactly they plan on trying to find a way to regulate this. Because seriously, I know, so it was Tennessee, Georgia, and I don't think it was Florida. It's another state. They all have their state laws where they put those in literally right before this settlement was signed on purpose to be able to circumvent some of these rules. And the one thing that comes into that is this college football commission, or whatever, college sports commission, is going to have the ability to regulate or kick teams out of their conference if they're not willing to follow the rules. I'm curious to how exactly that's going to be enforceable, because it's going to be really hard for me to see them saying, Tennessee, you can't participate in this because of your state laws, and that being okay. At some point, we've got to get to the Super League, and in my opinion, the way the Super League will be successful is if you have the teams and then you pay a licensing fee back to the school to use their name, image, and likeness. And then you pay them to rent out their stadium, and you do all of that. To me, that's really the only way for it to work. Now, outside of that, John, the last thing is, what's the NCAA going to do about this transfer portal? We're going to get that one date? Because what it sounds like is everybody wants to agree to it only being in January, which that would be a massive game changer.
Yeah.
And it also could hurt at the same time.
Yeah, it's one of those that I don't think everybody fully has a great grasp on what the unintended consequences of one transfer portal window could be. The NCAA college football playoff schedule is still a mess as it relates to the transfer portal and the spring semester starting and all of that. So there's still some things that need to be ironed out as college football continues to evolve and they try to figure out how to best move forward. But yeah, you got to figure out the transfer portal situation. It's not a great situation, and they got to figure out a way to create some limits on that. Like these guys that transfer every year or have transferred 3 times in their collegiate career. I think that's kind of rough, man. Like, and some of it could be processing, but some of it could be, those guys just want to jump ship too. So I'll be curious how schools enact some contracts to prevent that. The guys that they want there to be, to be there for 3-4 years before going off to the NFL. How do they write that language in that prevents them from jumping after a year or whatever? Are there going to be escalators? Because the cap can grow, the rev share distribution can grow over the next 10 years. And most people estimate that by year 10, it'll be closer to 33.5 million or 33 million. So that's going to grow a lot. And it could even grow even further beyond that. We'll see. But that's just kind of the estimations starting now. A lot of it's going to be determined by revenue earned by all these programs. And it's going to be an average of the power schools. And my guess is the power 4 schools. That's going to create the average rev share distribution.
It's going to be an interesting conversation. Ready to see what it looks like.
Yep. Can't wait for overthecapcollege.com. I'm going to be spamming that thing so much, Jay. Just takes me back. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Not hit that YouTube button. Sorry. It's been a fun but long weekend of pool parties with the kids, and I'm just dragging. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel on YouTube, Unfair Sports. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. You can also follow me at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner. It's okay, John. The weekend's over.
I'm just glad you're back, dude. It's so much more fun with you.